All right, let's do this.
I am an alcoholic.
I'm an alcoholic.
I am an alcoholic.
I'm an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic.
I am an alcoholic.
I am an alcoholic.
I am an alcoholic.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. I am your alcoholic host, and I am joined with
Alison. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Alison. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, Alison, you're an alcoholic.
Yes, I am.
So am I. I'm an alcoholic in recovery. What about you?
Yes, I'm in recovery. I have, 15 months now. And this is the longest I've been sober, basically, except when I was pregnant. So it's pretty amazing because, it's been a long road. I've relapsed many times but I think I finally got it this time. So, I don't know. Where do you want me to start?
Well, I mean, you got a year and some change under the belt. That's a pretty big accomplishment. I just celebrated my 7 months.
Awesome.
That year's getting closer and closer, but I have my days just like we all do, ups and downs, and I just continue working with alcoholics, and that's my path, and continue to do this. And this has been a big thing for me. Where do we want to start? I don't know how much you want to share. I haven't really talked to you, and I have heard bits and pieces, but.
Well, I guess I will just start and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
I guess I can start from just give you a little bit of my background. So I basically I check off all the boxes for what every alcoholic and addict goes through. Alcoholism runs in my family. I've had a lot of trauma in my life, and I have mental illness. So like the combination kind of guarantees that that's the road I'm going to go down. I have pretty bad social anxiety, and it started when I was a kid because I got bullied a lot for having a disability, and I moved around like every few years because my family, my dad was in the military. And it took a very long time to kind of figure out what was wrong with me. I always felt kind of weird and like I didn't fit in with normal people, whatever that means.
I'm glad you added that.
So when I was 11, I went to my first psychiatrist because my parents saw that I was self-harming and suicidal and all kinds of stuff. And then I've basically been in and out of therapy and on meds off and on since. But that like sent this message to me that I was broken, that my brain was broken. And I don't know, that kind of fucks with you when you're a kid. And then, so I don't know. So it started off, diagnosis was depression, and then ADD, and then PTSD. And then I finally got my diagnosis of bipolar in my 20s. And when I got on that combination of meds, I finally started getting some relief. Unfortunately, I was also drinking and, doing drugs. And so that kind of made it less effective. But yeah, I had a lot of sexual trauma throughout my life. And so I think that was a big driver for my drinking. I basically got my self-esteem from from sex, and I thought that was all that I had to offer. And so I don't know. Of course, I lost my train of thought. Then when I got older and became a parent, I kind of took on everything because I wanted that control. I felt so out of control from all the things that had happened to me in my life. I had zero self-worth, but I was a major control freak. And, my husband and I worked opposite schedules. And so I was basically like taking care of my kid by myself, and working from home. And, I don't know. So it was a lot. And through that whole time, like I was drinking, smoking pot, pills, and, it was really rough. And, so it kind of drove me to, crossing the line from problem drinker, substance abuser to alcoholic, drinking in the morning, drinking all day to not have the shakes, and then rehab multiple times. So, I mean, that's basically a broad background of, kind of how I got where I got. And I found, oh my God, thank fucking God.
I don't even know what that thing is. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna pause right there because you pretty much like summed up the whole episode in 7 minutes.
Well, I figured I'd give you an overview, and then maybe
I like it that way. So when I'm seeing a lot of similarities with some other people I've spoken with and I've heard in shares. Did your drinking, did that start off as a fun, or was yours all just like a self-medicating for drinking, or was it a combination?
It was 100% just, I didn't want to feel, and it made me feel good. And, when I got older, it was about having fun because, I partied, and once I graduated high school, I really, really got like more into drugs, and I was partying with people and, college and stuff like that. I don't know. I just, it also helped me like, cause I had a lot of, and I still have a lot of social anxiety. So it helped me with that. But yeah, the primary reason was just, I didn't want to feel, because I constantly felt, like I wanted to die. I constantly was in pain, and I did not have any kind of coping skills whatsoever. I was quiet. I, was constantly facing changes, went through a lot of emotional abuse, had very, very critical parents. And I don't know, and then, it didn't make it any better that I have a physical disability. I have very, very mild, cerebral palsy. And it wasn't really a big deal until elementary school. And once I got to elementary school, then they just started bullying me. And it was was awful. Like, I don't know. I remember, many times just crying myself to sleep at night, crying at school, just avoiding, doing anything like that involved other people. Like, we had a field day in elementary school, and that was the first time I remember trying to self-harm. I wanted to get out of field day. So the night before, I tried to break my ankle. Of course, I had no idea how to do that because I was like 10 years old.
You find a ledge and you bend your ankles inward and you jump off the ledge. One of my coworkers told me that the other day, and I was like, "Oh, you don't want to do that." It's just weird. You brought that up, and someone was telling me that the other day, and I'm like, "Why would you do that?"
Well, I was avoiding. I felt that having a broken ankle would be better than having to physically perform in front of the people that were bullying me.
Yeah.
So,
well, they're trying to get out of work, so.
Well, at least, you get paid for that, right?
Well,
maybe.
I don't know. You kind of do it, and someone else saw you do it. And I don't think you should. I think that's a little unfair there.
Yeah, that's true.
So this was a that was real early. I mean, you're bringing back thoughts to me of when I was a kid, and this is crazy. I mean, I remember the first time I rode a school bus. This kid bit my arm. I don't know whatever happened to that kid. Then I remember when we moved when I was younger, and I was a nice outgoing kid. Get to a new school, and I introduced myself to another kid, and the kid just punched me in the stomach and ran off.
Nice.
And I think about another time, a guy in junior high kicked me in my private parts and bruised me down there. And
yeah,
I'm just like, what do I do for these people to do this kind of stuff to me?
Yeah.
And it's just like, but I never in the early years, I used any, I guess I didn't have access, where it was the fear of my parents beating the living shit out of me too.
Yeah. That's a good motivator.
Yeah. So this is elementary school. You're already, having now I'm off track. I'm like all over the place. This is normal, so don't feel bad. This is on me.
No,
I started reminiscing, and so you were trying to get out of field day, and that was kind of like that's like I remember field day too, but that was like, I don't know, kind of a pivotal moment in my life. But it's like, when I think about it, I mean, I didn't even realize it until I went to therapy that, that was kind of like a foundation for, my horrible, horrible self-esteem. And, and it doesn't help when you're already socially awkward. Like, I'm very introverted. I've worked on that quite a bit. I'm not as bad as I used to be. So it took me a while, a few years after that, and until I got to high school. And then when I got to high school, I grew boobs. And all of a sudden, all the guys were just like, "Hey, what's up?" And so it just, and then that was one of the first messages of, that's what I had to offer. And plus, like I said, I had
a lot of sexual abuse throughout my life, because that's the thing about sexual abuse is, for some reason, it's like you, without trying, it's like you re-victimize yourself. Not like it's your fault, but like, I don't know, like just because of the fact that I didn't value myself that way, I ended up in situations that were dangerous. And I don't know. That sounds like victim blaming, but it's totally not. I think some people know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm not here to judge, and nor should anyone else be. I mean, that's pretty your story. We're here for recovery of drugs, drugs and or alcohol.
Yeah.
Because those types of things, everyone's going to deal with them differently, and
right.
I don't know one right or wrong answer. I mean, at the time, drugs and alcohol could be the answer. I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not saying I condone that or anything like that. Using drugs or alcohol, self-medicating, but at the time in that person's mind, I mean.
Yeah, well, it's like, it works until it doesn't.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So this is pretty. So you got into high school, you grew some boobs. Did you use Miracle Grow for that?
No, just lucky genetics, I guess.
Oh, okay. I tried doing that once, and it didn't work out well. I had to use a lot of weights and stuff like that. And, I'm just kidding. So did you start drinking in high school, or?
When I was 12, I had my first beer.
Junior high.
And like, kind of started smoking pot a little bit, but it didn't really start getting like a regular thing until high school. And I found the druggies or whatever, and I felt like this was the first time I felt like I fit in, because, we're the outsiders, and I felt like an outsider. And so, once I found where I felt like I belonged, there were drugs and alcohol everywhere. And so I just, I liked it because I didn't have to think about anything. I didn't have to feel anything. And, it also helps you forget about consequences and bad decisions. And I don't know, it's just like floating through life, numbing out. And, like I said, like I didn't have any other coping mechanisms whatsoever. I had not learned any. All I'd learned was you need to stuff your emotions and don't tell anyone, because, that's burdening someone with your problems. And, I can take care of it myself. It's not right to burden other people with my problems. And, it was kind of that attitude that eventually just really sent me down a dark path. I don't know, the self-harm started to get really bad. And, I went through some more really traumatic sexual experiences. And it was like every time it would just reinforce that thought that was my value. And so I don't know. I would kind of go from relationship to relationship because I was afraid of being alone. and shit, I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about rainbows and unicorns.
Yes, those are the best. My daughter's favorite.
Yeah, my 4-year-olds. So,
but yeah, so that was kind of high school through college, and all of my relationships were, very unhealthy. I got married when I was in my early 20s, and he was an alcoholic, and I was still like at the problem drinking, problem drug phase, because it wasn't like, I was at that stage where I could stop for months at a time for whatever, but fooling myself. Like I actually left him for being an alcoholic, which when I sit here and think about it, I'm just like, I'm a hypocrite. Because like I'm doing all these psych meds and doing all, smoking weed and stuff. And I'm like, you're an alcoholic.
So, it's easier for us to point out other people's flaws than our own.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've learned that in the short time I've had in the program. And I find that was one of my biggest defects.
Yeah.
What do they call that? Keeping my lane clean, not worrying about other people.
Your side of the street clean.
Yeah, my side of the street clean.
Yep. I definitely can relate to that. Yeah. So let's see. I got divorced, and when I had to live alone, I got really bad into drugs and alcohol, because being alone was meant being alone with myself, and meant being alone with my thoughts. And I mean, I really hated myself, and I really hated my life. And I just felt like I had no value, nothing to offer the world whatsoever. And, luckily I was in the therapy, and, I was learning how to kind of recognize these bad thought patterns that were kind of keeping me in that state of mind. But nowhere near, where I've gotten to today after a bunch of rehab and AA. But so then I married my husband, and we decided to have a baby. And that was kind of when I fell apart.
Let me. So you got divorced, then you got married. Did you get clean in between that one and this one? Because you're saying it fell apart again. It all fell apart.
I did for well, I mean, it's kind of subjective, because I still drank a couple glasses of wine, so it wasn't sober, and I smoked a little bit of weed, and I had my anxiety meds, but then I fell apart.
Okay.
So
you were what do you call it? Moderating, or doing things in moderation in between that period.
Yeah. Which,
okay.
That lasted I don't know, 6 months, maybe.
I'm just trying to paint a picture for myself, because I like to just listening to everyone when they share. I can find myself doing some of the things in the past. You find a lot of similarities in people's shares and stories, and I'm just like, okay. Yeah, I remember trying to do that. And I remember this period I did this, and this period.
Yeah.
This sounds really familiar, Ray. This sounds very, very familiar. And I'm just like, I just wasn't certain because you went from this and you said the rehabs and stuff like that, but then I remember my moderation phase too, and I know where that goes.
Yeah,
so
it all goes back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They say, what is it, tenfold? That phrase. It gets. I don't know. I'm horrible with phrases. It was just bad
Yep.
on my end. So
Yeah.
all right. So you're with this husband, have a baby, and Armageddon.
Well, I never imagined myself having kids, and then all of a sudden, I get with my husband and we're in love, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. And not that I don't know, it was just like, like a 60-40 thing, like where I was more on the side of not having kids, and then there was this other side of me that was like, I really want to experience that, and so it was just a big shock to my system, having this little being just constantly attached to me and needing me. And my husband was working all the time, and I had to work from home while I was taking care of this baby. And that was hard. Because I completely, my husband and I completely disconnected from each other. I focused all my attention on my child. And, so we developed all these resentments toward each other, and we stopped interacting. We stopped talking, and because our schedules were opposite, we just, never saw each other. So we never had this opportunity. And I remember so many times, being with my daughter alone and thinking, I could just run away. Like, I just want to run away. Because it was hard. And, I went off my meds for my pregnancy and for the first year and a half of my daughter's life. And so, I definitely had some postpartum depression mixed in there. But it was hard. Probably the hardest, almost one of the hardest times of my life. No doubt about it. I mean, but what's funny about kids is, it's hard, but at the same time, it's amazing. And you love this little being that you created. And I don't know. So it was like this constant push and pull. And, she 100% was the only thing in my life that was keeping me alive, because I did not want to do that to her. And, because I started thinking that way, I decided that I absolutely had to go back on meds, or, because I had started like planning and like, like I need to get my will together. Like, how am I going to do it? Researching. And, I mean, I'd attempted it before when I was a kid, but I mean, this was like hardcore. I was going to do it. And, I don't know. I got back on meds, and, I started drinking and smoking pot, and the moderation just like started going away slowly until I was, drinking a lot. And then I'd pull back a little bit, but then within a few days, it would be like back to, a lot. And, at that point, I started getting to the point where I was day drinking, and I was drinking so often, so much that, you know, I couldn't go without drinking when I got up in the morning because I had the shakes. And I think when I started having those kind of physical withdrawal, I was just like, okay, I've got to stop this. And plus, you know, I was blacking out when I was home alone with my daughter. I was driving drunk with her. Luckily, I lived half a mile from her school, half a mile from, you know, the CVS where I bought my alcohol, and I worked from home. So I didn't do a lot of driving. So I think that's the, you know, saving grace why I never got a DUI or never got in an accident. Because that was one thing that I was very conscious of, is like, I tried really hard not to drive drunk with her in the car. Because I mean, I would never forgive myself. And, you know, kids really make you think about things differently. Yeah. So, it was that point that I decided to check myself into rehab. And I was so excited because I was like, I'm in rehab. I'm finally going to be fixed. Like, I'll be here for 30 days and it's going to fix me, and I'll be great. I'll have all these tools to, you know, make me better. And, you know, I got out of rehab and I had the pink cloud thing, and I got my 90 days. And then I just started falling apart again. I didn't start drinking yet. I went into prelapse mode, as a lot of people say, where it's like my thinking patterns started going back to the, oh, everything's always going to be like this. I feel like shit, even though I've quit drinking and I've done all this stuff in rehab. So it's always going to be like this. I'm never going to be happy. You know, all these absolutes. And so I was just like, fuck it. And I went to the liquor store. My husband and daughter were home. I pulled up in the driveway and I just chugged a freaking bottle of wine, thinking that I would be able to like hide that when I walk in the door, that I hadn't been drinking for 3 months, but you know, so they're not going to be able to tell I just chugged some wine. So funny, the lies we tell ourselves. And so, you know, of course, I came inside and I was sloppy as fuck. I actually, you know, fell on the floor and was just bawling my eyes out. And I told my daughter, I was like, go get your dad, go get your dad. I can't do this. And, you know, later on, I asked her, I was like, you know, how did that make you feel? And she was like, sad. And I said, why did it make you sad? And she said, because you didn't ask me for help. And that like broke my heart. You know, it's like this little 4-year-old child who is, you know, trying to take responsibility, like trying to be the parent in the situation. And, you know, and then like a whole bunch of fucked up shit happened. I cheated on my husband, you know, just a whole bunch of shit. And then, so I went back to rehab, and, I started kind of discovering that, you know, I started working the steps a little bit. And this particular rehab, we actually went to AA meetings every single night. But, you know, just like most people in secular AA, it was like all this God stuff, God, 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 God. And I'd never, I mean, my mom was this like really oppressive Christian, you know, as soon as she found out that I was like, I didn't believe in God, she just freaked out and, you know, felt like I was a failure and all this stuff. So when AA was just like shoving God down my throat, I was like, this is fucked up. And my counselor had convinced me, if you just find a higher power, it doesn't have to be God, blah, 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 blah. And that's what tripped me up. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And, you know, so of course, I don't know if it was 60 or 90 days later, I got out of rehab. The guy, you know, that I was unfaithful with, he called me and I relapsed. Yeah. And so I went back to the same rehab. It was all women on purpose. So I could be good. And it was amazing. I mean, the people that I was in rehab with, they were amazing. I got super close to them and I like discovered who I was without, you know, alcohol. Like I discovered, you know, with confidence that I could be funny and quirky and, you know, just silly and, you know, comfortable in my own skin. And it's like, that was the first time in my life that I really got a taste of what it was like to be myself. That, you know, that wasn't drowned in alcohol. And so that was an amazing experience. But after that relapse, we moved from California to Florida, where all my family was. And I have a personal thing against Florida because I did the most drugs here and because I've just never liked it as much. And I felt like I was coming back with my tail between my legs. But it was the only way that I would still have my family. Because my husband was like, we're going to Florida, whether you come with us or not. And, you know, that hit home because I didn't want to lose my family. And so we decided that I'd go into sober living when I got here. And then COVID happened. And everybody went into lockdown. And it like changed everything. I did not get along with the girls. I mean, there was no animosity. It was just like no connection whatsoever. So while I was in sober living, I relapsed again. And because I was just miserable. And somehow the sober living never caught me because they just never like tested. And I don't know, it was weird. But, you know, my husband came to pick me up one day and I was fucked up, just slurring my words, stumbling around, thinking that, you know, he can't tell. You know, we think we're so smooth. We are not. But yeah, so we decided that I was going to come home and be with my husband and my daughter. And, you know, but COVID was really actually a great thing because, you know, because I have social anxiety, I don't do well in person, you know, and so when I would go to meetings, I wouldn't talk. I would kind of sit in the back, but, you know, online meetings, I felt a little bit more comfortable. And I started to develop relationships with, you know, people in, oh my God, you know, Mikey and Kat, and it was just amazing. It was such a game changer. Like, I was like, I feel like I fit in. And then I don't know, 7 months or 8 months or something like that. And I relapsed again. And, my husband was basically like, this is a struggle and you need to be careful because, I don't know how long we can deal with this. And so, so I got back on track, but just the isolation was still getting to me. And I relapsed again. And,
at this point, you're becoming a professional relapser.
yeah. Yeah, I had to keep it interesting, I guess. But thankfully, right around that last relapse, oh my God, started meeting in person. And that saved my life. If that had not happened, I don't know where I'd be.
Now, before we get into that, were you working any of the steps, or did you have a sponsor at this time, or were you just attending online meetings?
I've been working the step. I've always gotten to step 4, and then like my ADD kicks in. And I'm like, God, this is such a huge step. I have to, write down so many things and think about so many things.
Squirrel.
Yeah. I've just never gotten past it. And it's not that I'm like afraid of it. Like I always look forward to it, but then it's just like, it's this huge fucking homework assignment, And, but yeah, I have a sponsor. We're, taking it slow right now with the steps because I'm in really intense therapy to kind of work through all my past trauma and stuff. And, but it was really cool because of being exposed to, oh my God, like I had started the steps before with traditional AA, and it's like I had to skip over the higher power part, and it was like, but that doesn't work. Like, how does that, how can you do that? Like, I just could not, I was like, oh, my higher power is the moon, it's nature, blah blah blah.
It's a doorknob.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't fucking work, and at least not for me. It might work for somebody else, and if it does, that's amazing. But I don't know. And plus, in traditional AA, they'd be like, oh, well, you'll figure it out soon, because if you're going to stay sober, you have to figure out what your higher power is, and So yeah, I got to in person. I have not made it past the 4th step. I would like to make it past the 4th step. I want to be able to talk about all the steps intelligently in meetings, because I do think definitely they bring some value to recovery. It teaches you the tools. It helps you move past all the shit in your life that you're ashamed about. It, I definitely think there's value, especially since I've finally figured out how to look at the whole higher power stuff. One day it just, it kind of goes back and forth for me. Like, I have discovered that, it's mostly about, for me, it was about connecting with other drunks. Like, that changed everything, because, the thing about drinking and drugs is you're so alone. Like, even if you're with like a whole bunch of other people, you're just alone, because just not present, completely disconnected. And so it's like, it was so nice to finally feel like I found my tribe. It was the first time in my life that I felt like I actually belonged somewhere. Like, people could actually hear and understand me and not judge me. And I think that is one of the most valuable things about AA, you know, because it's a place you can go to and feel safe. Like once you find your people, it's a place you can go to be yourself, really. So that, I mean, oh my God, seriously saved my fucking life.
Okay, but you're 15 months in, so this is a pretty big pivotal path right now for this episode.
Yeah,
because you haven't worked all of a step program yet.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I mean, no, because that's 15 months, and you're maintaining and you're still working. What are you doing to keep going to where you're at, and how are you maintaining right now? Are you just going to meetings or?
Well, I'm going to meetings. I'm doing service work, a lot of service work, because I feel like, you know, I've gotten so much out of, you know, this program and, you know, the people, that it's like, I feel like I should be giving back, because I owe my life to this, you know, this program and this group of people. And so it's like, all I want to do is whatever I can to support that. And then the other thing is, you know, going out and hanging out with, you know, other alcoholics and just having fun, you know, discovering what it's like to have fun without a substance. And it's so funny because when we go out, it's like, we're louder and raunchier than the drunks, you know, the people that are drunk. I mean, I tell you, sober alcoholics are some of the craziest motherfuckers out there. So you know, that has really helped me a lot. And, you know, all that time, I mean, I've been trying to get sober since 2019. And so, you know, all that time doesn't disappear just because you relapse. So I learned a lot, even in between relapses. Every time I got sober, I learned something. And so I think, you know, I started to recognize the thinking patterns and the self-pity. Like, self-pity was a huge, huge thing for me. Like, especially like, oh, it's always going to be like this. Oh, you know, I'm so fucked up. My life sucks, blah, blah, blah. And once I started kind of recognizing that, and this is a huge one, actually, realizing my part in things. Because my entire life, I've always been like, I'm right. I know I'm right. You're wrong. You know, all of this is happening to me because of you. And once I started to recognize that, and that was the fourth step, that was what helped me, even though I've never finished it or the other ones, it helped me immensely to recognize my part in things. Because it got me away from my ego. And, you know, it's so weird as alcoholics. I think it's so common for, you know, us to be self-centered, in the egotistical, like, I'm the best way, and then self-centered in the I'm a piece of shit way. Like, right.
No, I'm just. You're so articulate about it. It sounds like you finished the steps. So something's clicking. I'm just amazed right now and enamored by this, because you had some rough goes there, like really rough times, and the relapsing, and you know, I've tried to quit in the past, and I'm just like, you know, I never really relapsed because I never quit drinking during those other times, really, to be honest with myself. But now it's just like, I'm just like, all right, Am I set myself up for relapse? Am I doing this? Am I doing this right? Am I doing the right next thing? And this, that, and another. But you speak like it, and it's like you've learned so much and grown. And it's here. I think it's another slogan, because I've learned a lot of slogans from the slogan whore herself, Mikey. What is it? It's progress, not perfection. I mean, I've heard that out of his mouth and several others, and
yeah.
I mean, because you'd relapse, and at least you came back, and you kept trying. So it's not you're just a professional trier. You're giving your best, and something happened, but you bounced back and kept at it again, and that's amazing. In 15 months, and I'm just like, I wreck my brain. I'm like, am I doing this right? And it's just like, okay, maybe I'm not doing so bad, you know. It's our brains work so differently, but I see so many similarities, and it's just, a lot of this stuff's hard to put into words and into perspective. And I'm so glad you're here today, because, I mean, you're taking part in AA. You're attending secular meetings, online and in person. Yeah. You haven't finished the steps. There's people out there struggling because they think AA is just, you know, it's whatever. And I speak to this with a lot of the other people on the show, and it's just like, here you are. You haven't finished your steps, but you're open and willing to participate and let AA be part of your life. And 50, because it's just like, man, I'm just like, I can't wait to my first year then. And it's like, I'm counting years to celebrate, not days, and this, that, and another. I'm like watching days right now. I'm at day 218. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, month 8's coming up. And it's just like 15 months. And I'm like, that's a month, 3 months. So it's like, man, that's awesome.
Hey man, you're halfway there. You're halfway there.
Yeah.
And you got like this amazing support system, you know.
But that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
You know, I worked a different set of steps through Reason and Recovery. Mm-hmm. I mean, that made perfect sense to me. But I continue and maintain the rest of my program by working with other alcoholics.
Yeah.
And I've always had the issue with God and the higher power and this, that, and another. Yeah, I still see people in secular AA, and they get wrapped around, you know, they find and work their higher power, but just even wording that stuff in the traditional steps just does not work to me. Yeah. I brought myself here. I brought myself to stop, and I've got to continue to maintain, but I understand I can't do that by myself, and a doorknob's not going to take it away from me, this, that, and another, and it's going to lift it away and throw it into the magical clouds and this, that, and another. No, but I can do it working it through with other alcoholics. That makes sense to me, and I continue to do that. And that's why I'm doing that. I'm just like, oh, this is awesome, because this has got to. I always, today I was doing research. Well, not really research, but just like looking around and just listening to. I'll admit it. I was looking on Twitter and just looking at some of the other sober groups out there, and people out there like us. It's well. Not like us, because we're in the program and we're working the program, but there's people that have that religious aspect, or they're saying they're an atheist and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, there's many paths to sobriety. I messaged the person. I said, it's out there. You just have to be open to it and make the program yourself. And I'm just like, hey, I might have helped that person today. But I just see that stuff, and that's why I continue to do this. And it's just like, you've become a part of my recovery today.
Oh,
And
Ew.
I've seen you in the meetings, and that's the thing. Everyone that comes on this show ends up being a part of my recovery.
Yep.
And that's a huge thing. And this is where I start getting all sappy and emotional and all that, because this means the world to me. And that just, I'm rambling now, but it just meant so much just to sit and hear everything you've said, because it keeps me pushing on, because no one's perfect. And I've never, sometimes I think I piss perfection and shit success, but I know I'm full of shit too. So, that's why I was an alcoholic. I was a narcissistic, ego, maniacal, self-centered asshole.
Yes.
And I know that now. I still am in ways, but that's just, yeah.
Well, it's really amazing what you've done here with this podcast. Like, what a great idea. Like, yeah, I love it.
Well, I mean, there's other podcasts out there, but they're not approaching it like me. They want to sit and just talk about 12 steps and this, that, and another. And it's not just that. I'll talk 12 steps and traditional and this, that, and another, because yes, it may work for that person. And I just had a person on here that just worked 12 steps, and it's working, and they have an aversion to God, and they're not a religious person, but it is working for them. That's the amazing part. If you're open-minded, willing, like you and me, if you're at day 0 right now, someday all you gotta do is just have the desire to stop drinking. You'll be at day 1. Next thing you know, you'll be at month 7 and be like Alison at 15 months and pushing around to almost, getting that 2-year chip. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be here. I never thought that my state of mind would change so much, because I think that's the biggest thing. I think that is the key to staying sober, is changing the way you're thinking.
Well, that shows. I can hear it through your story today too. It's been, I can hear the change, and I never thought you could hear a change, but I can hear it, and it's I just it's got me glowing, and I'm grinning ear to ear. I mean, y'all can't see it, so try to hear my smile. So
I can see it. I can vouch for it.
Yeah. I need to start getting streaming or something or whatever. I think that'd be another way. But I think the podcast thing is more, helps us keep the anonymity, or whatever that word is. I suck at big words or smaller words or words.
Anonymity is really hard to say.
Yeah, it is. So we just totally went total left field there, but 15 months, and so you're working with a sponsor now. You may or may not finish your steps. Right.
Yeah.
But you're talking about starting to be a speaker, right?
Yep. This is my first attempt.
Never thought you'd be like on a podcast, did you?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
So let's go to, like, I just came into a room. I just can't, because that's when I got sober, was online. This is my day 1. It's my desire to stop drinking. What would you tell me?
Number 1, don't give up, because this shit's hard, and no matter what happens, we're human beings, and we're gonna fuck up, and just keep trying. And the other thing that has really, really helped me is to remember, and even mantra to myself, drinking never makes anything better. Nothing good comes from drinking. And if I say that to myself anytime I'm thinking about alcohol, it gets me back in the right, perspective. So, yeah. I like to keep it simple.
Yeah, we a lot of people stray away from that, and it is pretty. You can do this very simply, and I think we just found a title for the episode too. So that's been my new thing. Is finding titles in it. Mikey's was super simple.
Yeah, I love that.
I've never met anyone in my life, and I've met a lot of people in my lifetime, and I'm grateful to have him in my life. So
yes, me too. Yes.
So I really. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you again.
No.
Okay, so I really appreciate you coming on the show, Alison.
Well, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to share my story, and I'll be a lot less nervous, hopefully, when I speak in front of 150 people at, oh my God, in August.
Want to celebrate a milestone in your sobriety? Have a burning desire? Just want to say hi. Call our hotline at 937-203-8330.